Ladies and gentlemen, the champion spotlight for Dormammu, who is coming to the game tomorrow in Arena and also the featured hero crystals, has just landed, and I'm so excited for this because it allows us to pick apart kind of the stats and numbers associated with a 4-star rank 5 level 50 Dormammu and get a bit more information on the character, so hopefully you can make a bit more of an informed decision on whether or not you want to get this character as a 3-star, a 4-star, or a 5-star champion. And that's pretty much today's videos. We're going to go through this champion spotlight, going to be giving you my thoughts and opinions on what I believe Dormammu is going to be good for, what he's not going to be so great for, and talk about, the strengths and weaknesses of this character. So let's start off with, we're going to start off covering the abilities, and then we'll go back to the stats at the end. So the abilities, the 2 passives that he has, which makes him really, really good. The way that I'm going to describe Dormammu is, I think, offensively, just as a bottom line, he's a really, really good utility champion. He's very strong power drain mechanics, and he is immune to both poison and bleed. Very, very powerful. And when he's duplicated, when he's awakened, his signature ability makes him really, really good as an Alliance War defender. So I think those are kind of the 2 uses for this character, in my opinion. But let's explain about that a little bit more. So yeah, again, start off passive, immune to both bleed and poison, great for offense, also quite handy for defense as well. So he has this passive called Dark Energy. So Dark Energy is accrued on Dormammu every time the opponent spends power, or any time that he kind of drains power from the opponent. And when this charge reaches 100, which it does really, really frequently from what we've seen in the from the Master Mode Dormammu, it consumes it and imbues the next ability. So then you can use like a medium attack or a special 1, special 2, and get like an additional effect to go along with this imbued attack. So again, it's a little bit more complicated in comparison to some of the other characters, and this is going to be a lot easier to explain on Sunday when we actually have a 3-star version of this champion from Arena. But that's kind of basically how it works. So every time your opponent spends power or you drain it, you get a little bit more dark energy, and this accrues like really, really quickly. So you're like always being you should always be able to fire off like imbued stuff pretty quickly. So anyway, let's talk about what are we going to move on to now? The heavy attack. So heavy attack mechanics quite interesting because at the moment this is a little bit broken, and we did a video on this. So if there's no soul bond on the target, then it will place one on it, and the only way to place a soul bond on the target is by using this heavy attack. And while Soul Bond is active, each Dark Energy charge you get also adds an additional charge of Soul Bond up to 100, and you detonate an active Soul Bond, dealing up to 4% attack as direct damage per Soul Bond charge. And at the moment, it seems like the bug with this in Master Mode, you don't really see it often. I've just done quite a bit of testing on this, and we did a video called Dormammu is Broken, but this actually can go like more than 100 times at the moment. It doesn't visually display it, but on the server, like we've seen like charge detonation dealing like 4 or 5 times this damage. So yeah, it looks like if that is still broken when it's added, which hasn't been addressed yet, it's going to be like insanely overpowered. So we don't know exactly how good the heavy attack's going to be until it actually lands in the game and we find out whether or not it's intended or not. I think it's going to be fixed from its bug state at the moment, but who knows, he might come into the game and be really OP. But if it can go like above 100 on the server side, then yeah, he's absolutely going to demolish opponents. So that is really good. So then he also has an additional ability when he finishes a combo with a medium, which a lot of players do at endgame. You do a medium triple light medium combo, and the target will not gain power from that hit, and will also deplete up to 7.5% of the target's max power. And if you're imbued in this state, it causes direct damage equal to 400% of power drained, which isn't really that much damage, to be honest. But the big thing with this additional ability is that, providing you always finish a combo on a medium, your opponent's never going to get to the level 3 unless they have some sort of, passive power gain like Hyperion has. So that's very powerful in its own regard, because you're never going to finish with a medium and then just instantly have a level 3 after. It's always on that final hit, not only going to add any power to the opponent, but it's going to take 7.5% away, which is really good. That's why I think this guy's going to be an amazing power control champion. Special 1 has a 100% chance to nullify one enemy buff. This used to be 100 on the MCOC mod server, but it got fixed to 1, and then if you're imbued, it's a 100% chance to nullify all of the enemy buffs. So that's pretty good, considering you also get 50 dark energy for each buff nullified. You know, if you nullify 2 buffs for this, you're going to be instantly imbued again. The Special 2 has a 100% chance to power lock the opponent for 5 seconds. It's really good that we have a Mystic Champion that guarantees a power lock, because Magic's one is only like, it's like an 87% chance or something like that. So it, you know, you do have those scenarios where it doesn't proc and it's very frustrating, but as well as that, it can also drain 15% of the target's max power per hit, providing that you're imbued, which on average you should be. If you like keep on doing this again and again and again and just cycling the level 2s, you should pretty much always be imbued when you get round to level 2. And it actually has 4 tiers of the projectile, so it should drain 60% of the target's max power, as well as power locking. It seems pretty good in theory, but you know, we need to get a freestyle version of the champion so we can test out, see if you can have like 100% uptime on the imbued whenever you get to a Special 2. I think that's quite an important factor on whether or not this champion is going to be super good for power control or not. And also another thing about the Special 2 is I don't think it's fully evadable, so that might make it an additional like pain in the ass to fight an alliance war. Special 1 is actually like quite easy to avoid. He just kind of like does like the portal and then the rupture, and you just need to like swipe back and attack in as soon as he does the kind of upward animation from the rupture and uses that. So he might be quite easy to fight with the Special 1, but we'll talk about, you know, why he's such a good alliance war defender in a second when we get around to his signature ability. So the final thing is Special 3, Lord of the Dark Dimension. This is so cool. It's such an awesome Special 3 to fire off. But he will gain a dimensional link buff, causing Dormammu to continually gain dark energy for 16 seconds. And also, if you're imbued when you use this, you get a buff called Empowered Dimensional Link, which, while active, you will regenerate 20% of the damage done by Soul Bond detonation as health. Again, it really depends like how powerful Soul Bond is. I think it's actually going to be like fairly decent regen. I'm not too sure if it's going to be like enough though. Maybe with the Mystic Dispersion Mastery, like there's some scenarios where you could take like a huge amount of advantage with this and make it like absolutely crazy against certain opponents. But yeah, we're gonna have to see on that one. We're definitely gonna have to see on that. But yeah, you could potentially regen quite a bit, but all depends on the damage of that heavy attack and whether or not, you know, it's kind of still broken and dealing a lot more than it should when it's released. But we'll see. But that has, you know, it's all based on your attack, so potentially has some really good synergy with the Suicide Masteries to regen like a lot of health to recoup any health lost. And plus, you know, he's bleed and poison immune, so he's not going to take any damage from the Suicide Mastery, so it's only going to be damage from recoil. Potentially has some good synergies there with the old Suicides, but we're going to have to see. And then when we look at the signature ability, so basically, each time a buff expires on the opponent, Dormammu has up to 100% chance to degenerate them for 130% of his attack over 10 seconds. And I don't think there's any champions that can avoid degen. So that is really, really good as a defender, because that's going to be some guaranteed damage against most opponents. And a lot of people, you know, they use dexterity with Mystic Dispersion. It's going to have such a great synergy, whereas, you know, when you kind of like swipe out to evade, if you're trying to aggressively evade that level 1, you're going to be maybe triggering dexterity multiple times, getting the degeneration, you're going to be giving Dormammu more power, and he's going to absolutely wreck you. And I feel like that's also a really good thing as a defender with Mystic Dispersion, is if he gets to level 2, even when you're blocking that is going to deal a lot of damage on a stacked Dormammu node. So I think he has a lot of potential there to be a really, really good defender. Now let's talk about synergy bonuses. Nemesis for Doctor Strange, bit of attack there. The Hood gains 9% special free damage, not really too much there. Dr. Voodoo, bit of crit synergy there. Can't really go wrong with that. And then finally, he has a very interesting one with Mordo, which is called Dark Empowerment, and non-robot villain champions have a 20% chance to revive at 10% health when receiving a knockout blow. So I think that'll work in the same way to Phoenix if it does proc, but I think it's one of those synergies that you could play about with, have some interesting stuff. Again, one of the huge questions with the synergy is, does it stack with like multiple Dormammus and multiple Hoods? Like, that is a really, really big one that, you know, some people are probably going to test out tomorrow, so that'll be interesting to find out. So let's talk about some of the downsides now of Dormammu, which is really his base stats. His base stats are really not great. His health's quite good. His attack is below average. Also, from the MCOC mod video, we saw that his crit rate and his crit damage are really, really below average. They're, like, pretty bad, and that is, like, a huge part of a character's damage output, is having, like, a decent crit rate and decent crit damage. So that's really going to impact the damage output of this champion. So he's not going to be, like, insane for dealing damage. He might be if the heavy attack's still broken. But the next thing, which is very important to a lot of endgame players, is the prestige of the champion, the base power index, and it's really bad. It's like worse than anybody for in terms of all of the champions in the game. If we have a look at the list on Marvel Contest of Champions Tricos, he actually ranks number 28, and I think that's the lowest a new champion has been in a very, very long time. So Mordo is still by far not only the best Mystic champion, but overall the best Prestige champion in the game. And there are now, like, I think it's, what is it, 6? Is it 6, right? Yeah, 6 Mystic champions that have better prestige than Dormammu. So I think that's a little bit disappointing for a lot of the endgame grinders and people that wanted to go for this champion as a 5-star, because the prestige on this character is really, really bad for, like, a newer character. Still in the wider spectrum of the game, you know, he's 28 out of, I think it's like, what is it, like 85, 90 characters in total. So overall, like, you know, he's not the worst character in the game for prestige, but is certainly very lacking in comparison to new characters. A lot of people, myself included, thought if anybody's, you know, going to take Mordo from the top spot for prestige, it's probably going to be Dormammu. They could, you know, make quite a bit of coin by, you know, giving him insane prestige, because he's like a really, really hyped up character. I mean, his model and animations, they look absolutely amazing. But I guess that's good. That's kind of good. We don't have to spend like a ridiculous amount of money, like, while a lot of the endgame players don't have to spend a ridiculous amount either grinding in arena or going for the featured hero crystals to get a champion with fairly terrible prestige. However, I really would suggest, you know, if you do have a bit of time this weekend or next week, I'd suggest getting going for Dormammu as a 3-star. I think the utility of this champion in terms of his power control might be really, really useful come for like future event quest and maybe also Act 5, if you can use 3 stars in Act 5, that is. But I think it's very, very good. I can see like Dormammu versus Dormammu, it looks like you should be absolutely able to destroy Dormammu. So that's one of the things that I really want to do when I get a 3-star Dormammu, is take him against Master Mode Dormammu, because I think I should be able to destroy him, but we're going to have to see about that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, overall, I'm quite optimistic for Dormammu. I think he's going to be a really good utility champion. I think he's going to be a really solid Alliance War defender. It's just those base stats and prestige that were kind of lacking to make this champion like super, super great in my opinion. But still, like, he's a really decent champion. I think in terms of my ranking, I think he fits in like the amazing. Depending on like his heavy attack, he might be promoted to demigod tier, but I think with the amount of utility he has and the uses he has, he's probably somewhere between good and amazing. Like, we'll see. We'll see when he comes out. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this Dormammu Champion Spotlight video. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like. If you want to check out the Dormammu Spotlight for yourself, a link to it will be in the description below. Apart from that, take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.